successful approach.
One of the arguments that you made was that Nikki Haley is not being sort of consistent because she allows her daughter, who I believe is not a young
adult
kid,
age, yeah.
She's an adult, to use TikTok. And she was not very happy with that. Let's listen to what happened.
I want to laugh at why Nikki Haley didn't answer your question, which is about looking at families in the eye. In the last debate, she made fun of me for actually joining TikTok while her own daughter was actually using the app for a long time. So you might want to take care of your family first.
Leave my
before
daughter
preaching
out
to
of your
anybody else,
voice.
your adult daughter. The next generation of Americans are using it. And that's actually the point. You have her supporters propping her up. That's fine. Here's the truth.
You're just
the easy
scum.
answer.
She said you're scum at the end.
Well, here's what I would say is that the last debate, I think her exact quote was, "I feel dumber every time you speak," after the TikTok issue, lecturing families across this country about leaving TikTok. It's not a sin to be on TikTok. The dirty little secret is it's a generational divide. Most people, young people who I meet are. And the alerting moment is, even if she's going to talk about TikTok sanctimoniously on stage without mentioning that her own adult family members of the next generation are on it, we're not fixing the problem by just retreating and signaling our virtue. To the contrary, the question came up in the context of Hamas, pro-Hamas content spreading across TikTok. You think we're helping that by actually exiting as opposed to offering an alternative voice? So I think it's a failure of leadership, that leaders like Nikki Haley would rather signal their virtue, pick on TikTok, say that, oh, I joined TikTok to reach the next generation of Americans. It reflects a startling lack of self-awareness to know that Republican Party needs to reach young voters. How about the young voter in your own family? And I do think that that's a fair question to ask about the lack of self-awareness. And it's a generational divide. She talks about a new generation of leadership. I think she's on the other side of that.
You have very young kids, so
Yeah.
I recognize that it's different from a grown kid. But why bring up somebody's family member? Isn't that a little bit of a blow below the belt?
No, because it's not a sin for a young person to be on TikTok. I think the error is somebody sanctimoniously lecturing the rest of the country about the perils of it while actually failing to set an example of leadership a little closer to home. And I think that that gets to the core point. We as a Republican Party are not going to win by going back into our shell and hiding from the next generation. We have to show up and engage with the next generation. That's the point I was making, and I stand by it. And I think that this is part of my problem with the older generation of Republicans. They say, well, TikTok has some vague bad things with China, failing to recognize even American-owned companies handing over their user data to China, and say our answer is to retreat. When people in their own communities, schools, families, young people are using it, and we're doing them a disservice by not showing up and actually engaging with them. So that's where I land on that.
Vivek Ramaswamy, thank you so much.